Ningewezaje kumkabidhi?
Baba, kwani wakati wako umefika?
Siwezi kuuza mzee, nimeileta tu kuweka rahani.
Si unajua mimi nina mke.
Pia mimi ni mke wako.
Mbona una roho chafu namna hiyo wewe mtoto?
Wataka nikupe sabuni usafishe?
Nakuomba msamaha, niko chini ya miguu yako. Nisamehe mke wangu.
And my life was in dismay, for among evil forces in which I played. Go to the people on your way up, to meet them on your way down. Cross the way. I'm losing all control. Girl, I can't fight this feeling. Feels so right. Champagne and candlelight. When you're wrapped up in my arms, dancing to a reggae song, feel good, feel good. We'll share the same room, yeah. Put your front on a break. Is this love? For I was a soul who was lost, and my life was in dismay. For among evil forces in which I played. Go to the people on your way up and let them go to meet them on your way down. Cross the way. I'm losing all control. Girl, I can't fight this feeling. Feels so right. Champagne and candlelight. I feel good when you're wrapped up in my arms, dancing to a reggae song. Feel good, feel good.
We also have the geothermal potential in Kenya. We have that potential. Already have enough steam for that particular power plant.
The process proudly brought to you by Buchan Furnitures Limited. Local manufacturers of quality office furniture and dealers in quality office equipment like fireproof safes and cabinets. For orders, visit our showroom at Uniafric House, Koinange Lane off Koinange Street.
Well, it's 9 p.m. East African time. This is KBC Prime, bringing you the Eye on the News this Tuesday, the 25th of January 2022. Good evening, my name is Mboya.
And I'm Museo. Thank you so much for joining us. You're right on time for the most comprehensive bulletin. We have all the news that have been happening here in Kenya and around the world.
So we are going to first of all look at what is making headlines tonight on this live broadcast.
The House is adjourned until such time as the Speaker will be moved by the Leader of the Majority Party and Leader of the Minority Party.
Looming crisis as legislators fail to reconstitute crucial House Business Committee.
The Maasais were not invited by the Kikuyus, nor were the Luos invited by the Lohias. They all just found themselves in this geographical space called Kenya.
ODM leader Raila Odinga promises an inclusive government if elected president.
Ray of hope for pastoralists as local scientists unveil livestock breed. Well, the National Assembly adjourned after failing to agree on a number of composition in the House Business Committee. Live in studio, we have constitutional lawyer Steve Mogaka is going to talk to us about the implications of that move. Thank you so much for joining us on this live broadcast. And you can be part of that conversation at KBC Channel 1 News, at Purity_Museo, and at Mboya 24. Use the hashtag Prime Edition. Susan Thuku is a sign language interpreter tonight. Straight to our top story, the National Assembly has adjourned indefinitely after failing to agree on the composition of the House Business Committee. The move has technically paralyzed the operations of the House. No business can be transacted without the critical committee which dictates the agenda of the House. Well, the Speaker of the House, Justin Muturi, warned the members of Parliament that the import of their decision was akin to the dissolution of the House, as a similar motion can only be introduced after 6 months.
The National Assembly resumed its 6th session with the main business to approve the House Business Committee that sets the agenda of the House. But the list of 7 members presented before the floor of the House will be rejected at the vote.
Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of contrary opinion say nay? Nay. The nays have it.
Standing Order 49 of the National Assembly states that no motion will be moved which is the same in substance as any question which has been resolved during the preceding 6 months in the same session.
Yeah, the nays have it.
The rejection of the composition of the House Business Committee means the House has technically dissolved itself, as it will be legally impracticable for any sitting past May this year. But Speaker Justin Muturi said the onus is on the House leadership to explore available avenues to cause him to recall the House.
We will not be able to do any other business. Very well. So the House is adjourned until such time as the Speaker will be moved by the leader of the majority party and leader of the minority party on a motion based on Standing Order number 49.
Celebrating the House decision, legislators allied to UDA took pride in the new union with ANC members, terming the paralysis an earthquake.
Lakini saa hizi tuko na numbers na tuko vile tumejipanga. Najua mbeleni walikuwa wakitupanga lakini sasa hatupangiki. Sasa tutakuwa tunaangusha hizo miswada sote.
We are not willing at all to recede on the decision that we have made. Parliament, as it stands, is dissolved because we only have 6 months to election. So what we end up wafanya campaign.
However, lawmakers allied to Azimio la Umoja criticized the move by their counterparts.
Kwa sababu ya ile tamaa ya ubinafsi tu kuonesha ubabe, yani mtu amefika paka hadhi ya namna hii. Hawajali.
Ukisema unafanya bunge lisiendelee kujadili, you are not punishing members of the handshake, you are not punishing ODM, you are not punishing Raila, you are punishing wananchi.
After the unprecedented occurrence at the National Assembly Tuesday afternoon, the ball now lies with the leadership of both parties to mobilize the House to rescind its decision. Kamche Menza for Prime Edition at the National Assembly.
Very well. ODM leader Raila Odinga has vowed to ensure that there is inclusivity once he ascends to power. Speaking after meeting the Ma and Gema leaders in Nairobi, Raila said he will ensure his government is devoid of negative ethnicity. Timothy Kimnusu reports.
The ODM leader was on Tuesday the guest of the Ma Communities and Mount Kenya Foundation at a Nairobi hotel. Raila said for a long time Kenya has been suffering from negative ethnicity and promised to change the narrative, calling on the two communities to rally behind his Azimio la Umoja movement.
You're a Maasai as an identity. Be proud to be a Maasai. But don't think that you are better than a Kikuyu. Don't think that you're better than a Luo or a Mkamba. Let Mkamba not think that is better than Mjikenda. We are all Kenyans. We can change our country if we are determined. If we really want to do it, we can do it. And we must just look at the causative factors and the solutions. And if we do that, Kenya will be able to reclaim its rightful place in the community of nations of the world.
Leaders who accompanied him, led by Kiambu Governor James Nyoro and his Kajiado counterpart Joseph Olelenku, calling on Kenyans to support the former premier, saying he's the best bet yet for Kenya.
Hatutaki 51%, mukirudi nyumbani museme tunataka baba awe na 70%.
I know he can bring this country together. He can leave us in a better, more unified country, and he can look back from where we've come from.
The two communities have resolved to stand with Raila until he occupies the top seat in the land.
There are those that, if, God forbid, should assume the leadership of this country will be put on mortgage. And mark my words, and so we have a duty.
They also agreed to safeguard peace and stability, saying attempts to profile communities will cause tension.
That the two communities took an oath that none will ever spill each other's blood.
The race to succeed President Uhuru Kenyatta is gathering momentum 194 days to the election, with Orange Democratic Movement party leader Raila Odinga putting his best foot forward in wooing the Gema and the Ma community to support his presidential bid. This even as he says he will ensure inclusivity once he ascends to power, and saying no community will feel superior to the other. Timothy Kipnusu for Prime Edition, Nairobi.
Well, staying with politics, Deputy President William Ruto has defended the United Democratic Alliance move to work with ANC leader Musalia Mudavadi and Moses Wetangula's Ford Kenya.
Speaking when he met leaders from Laikipia North constituency, the Deputy President said his new coalition pact will unite, transform and tackle political mischief in the country.
Accompanied by UDA allied legislators, Ruto said that their union will defeat the tribal agenda driven by a section of leaders in the country. Ben Chumba reports.
Nia yetu ni kuunganisha taifa lote la Kenya. Ile siasa tumekataa ni siasa ya kugawanya wa Kenya katika misingi ya kabila na dini na kijiji na kona. Kwa sababu kuna wale wanasukuma vyama ambazo zimetengenezwa ya sehemu na kijiji na kabila fulani, na hizi chama zinatengenezwa saa hizi kwa sababu wako na njama ya kujaribu kugawanya wa Kenya, ndio watu wachache waendelee kuwa na usemi, waendelee kuamulia wa Kenya wengine, kwa sababu hawataki wa Kenya waungane, kwa sababu wa Kenya wakiungana, wakiwa na umoja, watakuwa na uwezo wa kujiamulia yale mambo wanahitaji.
UDA, thank you so much.
Now, a section of leaders drawn from the Amani National Congress Party have maintained that the party leader Musalia Mudavadi will be in the ballot.
Led by Emuhaya MP Omboko Milemba, the leader said the presence of Deputy President William Ruto at the party's National Delegates Conference in Bomas on Sunday should not be misconstrued, that Mudavadi would not be the country's top, or go for the country's rather top seat.
Here's that report.
Despite ANC party leaders' move to invite Deputy President William Ruto to attend the party's National Delegates Conference held at the Bomas of Kenya last weekend, his lieutenants insist Musalia Mudavadi is still in the running to succeed President Uhuru Kenyatta.
Our party leader Musalia Mudavadi will be going for presidency and nothing else. And therefore, as we form these coalitions, we are making friends who will assist us to actually make Musalia Mudavadi a president of this particular country.
The party also announced it has formed a campaign program that will start tomorrow with a rally in Nakuru County held jointly with Ruto's United Democratic Alliance before proceeding to Bungoma County on Friday and wind it up on Saturday after Mudavadi's launch of his presidential campaign and manifesto with a series of rallies in Kirinyaga County.
Wale ambao walikuwa wakisema party leader wetu haonekani, huu ni wakati wa kwanza kuonekana. Kutoka tulivyoanzisha Jumapili na yale aliyoyazungumza juu ya hii nchi, huo ndio ujumbe ambao tunawapelekea wananchi moja kwa moja.
Meanwhile, National Assembly Speaker Justin Muturi has affirmed that he will not relent in his quest for the country's top seat. Muturi, who hopes to vie for presidency on a Democratic Party ticket, says he will announce his coalition plans after his party's National Delegates Conference to be held on the 21st of February 2022.
As a region, I agree that there is necessity for us to coalesce within one big political party for this region, because, as I've said, there is strength in numbers.
And presidential hopeful Reuben Kigame says he is the best candidate to succeed President Uhuru Kenyatta. Kigame, who is seeking the top seat on the soon-to-be-launched Eagles National Alliance ticket, also called upon the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission to take advantage of the digital space in rallying Kenyans to register as voters.
I want also to be a positive example that someone living with disability can actually make it in this life, as long as you are given an opportunity. So my call is to the president, to the deputy, to the former prime minister, please step aside and give someone else a chance because I qualify.
Finally, Narok Governor Samuel Tunai has warned aspirants seeking to succeed him against engaging in divisive politics.
We are not going to give space kwa leadership inasema ati hatutaki Kalenjin, hatutaki Kikuyu. We are sorry, there is no space in Narok. Kabila yote ambaye iko Narok iko na haki, na hakuna kabila itaama Narok, hakuna.
Tunai was speaking at the Narok County Assembly during the swearing-in of ICT Chief Officer Charles Langat.
Well, that story brings us to our first break right here on KBC Prime.
Stay with us. We still have plenty more to come, including our interactive segment tonight.
Yeah, we have Steve Mogaka, constitutional lawyer, is going to talk to us about what the implications of, Parliament dissolving would be. So stay with us.
India is an example to the rest of the region of what can be accomplished with elections that allow people to make a choice as to how they will be governed. And we look forward to the election that will be taking place in 2002 for the people of Kenya to once again come forward and express their desires with respect to how they will be governed.
And I assure the Honorable Powell of our commitment to economic, political and constitutional reforms, as well as in the fight against corruption.
Do you have a news story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email news@kbc.co.ke or call 0723-892-654 or 0734-780-124.
Beacon Furnitures Limited. We're local manufacturers of quality office furniture, dealers in quality office equipment like fireproof safes and cabinets. Our automated state-of-the-art factories at Henna House along Enterprise Road in Nairobi's industrial area. Our showroom is at Uni Africa House, Koinange Lane off Koinange Street. We are passionate believers in locally manufactured goods. When you and I buy locally made furniture, we impact on the livelihoods of our brothers and sisters. For orders, visit our showroom at Uniafric House, Koinange Lane off Koinange Street. Beacon Furnitures Limited, Jenga Kenya, tupate ajira.
Thank you so much for staying with us. You're watching Prime Edition this Tuesday night. Government operations may ground if National Assembly fails to rescind its decision to reject the formation of the House Business Committee. Among key businesses that may be affected are the adoption of the Budget Policy Statement, Appropriations Bill and the Finance Bill that actualizes the budget for the 2022-2023 financial year. More insights into this with our parliamentary reporter Gishuki Washira.
The fate of the sixth session of the National Assembly now lies with the House leadership and the ability to marshal MP to rescind the decision to reject the membership of the House Business Committee. Following the vote to reject the membership of the crucial committee, the House is now staring at 6 months of paralysis unless otherwise. Key businesses to be affected by the paralysis include consideration of the 2022 Budget Policy Statement, which is before various departmental committees, and nomination of a person for appointment to the Equalization Fund Advisory Board. Other priority businesses pending before the House include vetting of nominees for appointment to the offices of chairperson and members of the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, and vetting of a nominee for the appointment to the office of a member of the Salaries and Remuneration Commission representing the National Police Service. All indicators, however, show both majority and minority parties will move motion to rescind the decision of the House on Wednesday to avert a government lockdown. Gishoke Washira, Prime Edition.
Well, and that story takes us straight into our interactive session. We're delighted to have Steve Mogaka, constitutional lawyer. Thank you so much for finding time. Now, that story, the National Assembly adjourning indefinitely after failing to agree on the composition of the House Business Committee. From where you are, what are you seeing? What are the implications? How do you interpret such a move?
Thank you so much, and good evening, viewers. Plainly put, Parliament went on a suicide mission. Because in the absence of the House Business Committee, it therefore means that the Assembly cannot transact. And sadly, if we were to go strictly by the law, Article 47, rather Standing Order number 49, disallows representation of a similar motion to the House, therefore meaning that the House is literally chained and cannot constitute the House Business Committee. And therefore the implication is, as some would say, is that Parliament has committed suicide. And having committed suicide, what remains is the pathological exercise of pronouncing it clinically dead. And therefore, perhaps Kenyans decide what to do at this tail end of Parliament.
At this tail end of Parliament?
Yes.
You talk about the Parliament putting a rope on its neck. And to preempt the possibility of detonation, what then can be done? Because there is the option of, voters using the recall cause. There is the option of somebody moving to court, to petition the court to have Parliament dissolved. So what are we seeing going forward?
Going forward, this country is sometimes known best for impunity. Parliament can decide if they come to their senses, because I don't think they were aware of the ramifications of the decisions they were taking today. They may have been thinking they are playing politics, but a failure to constitute a House Business Committee literally says that there's a shutdown of the legislature. And therefore, to preempt whatever action, and I do urge that if there are serious public interest litigators in this country, and I think I'll take up one such case very quickly, one needs to move a court to pronounce Parliament literally dissolved by its own actions. And if that doesn't happen, because for the public to really understand what has happened, it means that Parliament now cannot pass any law. Yet one of the core business of Parliament is legislation. It therefore means that Parliament cannot oversight the executive or judiciary. Therefore meaning we can have a rogue executive doing its own things, hakuna mahali mutawapeleka. It therefore means that as citizens who exercised our right to elect parliamentarians, they have literally abdicated or removed themselves from the position of representing us as citizens and voters. And therefore, once they have stripped themselves of those three key responsibilities on their own motion, it therefore means that what we require is the court to go through the judicial pathological process of pronouncing Parliament clinically dead, and therefore tell Kenyans or the president to call for a snap election to have other legislators called in.
Are we seeing the world's moving, the political world, because we are heading also towards a general election, and some might interpret this as an extension of, you know, the cracks that are beginning to emerge among the political class. So are we seeing the political wars being pushed into the legislative agenda and therefore putting wananchi at risk?
Oh, certainly, because what has happened today is really what you call a reflection of the squabbles, political squabbles and formations that are happening for 2022. And if we are serious legislators in this country, they must know that whatever formations that are going now are for post-August 2022. They are not for now. All our parliamentarians took oath of office, requiring them to operate according to the Constitution, to defend the Constitution and observe the standing orders. Yeah.
So what does Parliament have to do? Because it has a role to forestall a potential crisis.
Precisely. Parliament now, because these formations that have caused today's quagmire, technically says that the leader of majority in Parliament is actually a leader of no majority. Because if you were a leader of majority, then formation of a House Business Committee is no big deal. And it is not far from the truth, because Jubilee that this country elected to government is not the Jubilee we see today. There are defectors sitting in the name of Jubilee, but whose loyalties are elsewhere. And this plays out because sometimes in Kenya, we condone a lot of indiscipline and lawlessness and stretch this too far. Because according to the Political Parties Act, if your loyalty to the political party that sponsored you to Parliament ceases, you exit. Yeah? And the disaster that happened in Parliament today is there are people sitting elected through various political parties, but their loyalties are not there. Yeah? And they are pretentiously sitting there and going to exercise the sabotage they did in Parliament today, because they say, Utadu, yeah? Because, I mean, there is no observance of law. And really, our Parliament needs to be tamed, because they cannot be the ones legislating and not observing the law. Yeah? And that is why I am like, if a petitioner went to court today, yeah, and listed some of those MPs who have no loyalty to the parties that sponsored them to parliament.
What would be the likely outcome?
It will be a trigger to the political parties that elected them to actually activate the process of expulsion. Because they need to be expelled, that is one. And the voters who voted for these parliamentarians on the various tickets or political parties need to also activate the recall clause, because you cannot be an MP when you have chosen that you are not representing the people who elected you, when you have chosen to, strangulate the mechanism through which you can legislate, when you have chosen that therefore you are not going to conduct the oversight role that you were elected to. I mean, really, this is why I say they have committed suicide, and all we require is the processes provided by the law to put the wreaths and RIP on them and say it was nice when you were here.
And in addition to that, I mean, look at it from this angle. We also have the budget, and obviously elections is a legislative agenda. So what are the risks?
The risks are that, and this is perhaps where the devil resides. By doing what they have done, obviously they have sabotaged the budget process that was going to lead us to a budget provision for 2022-2023. And it is within that budget estimate that the budget for election is supposed to be provided for. So essentially, by doing what they have done, they are literally giving Kenyans notice that they shall not be present to conduct the budget process, and therefore you can go to hell. IEBC will not have money for elections, and therefore there is no election in Kenya. That is how dangerous this action is, and it is therefore up to Kenyans to say whether they can condone and countenance this kind of conduct, or they'll take steps to do that they have to do. But mark my words that nature and the law abhors a vacuum. And what I'm saying is that because the government, under the Financial Management Act that we have in this country, provides that government can spend up to a certain proportion of the budget estimate pending legislation.
Pending legislation.
Yes, but for us to get there is really bad for the country, and all we are saying in a word is that the conduct by our legislators is extremely reckless.
So you've pointed out a petitioner moving to court. You've also pointed out the voter taking advantage of the recall clause.
Yes.
As you wrap up, other than those two mitigation measures you've mentioned, is there an internal arrangement within Parliament itself that can cure this potential problem?
Yes, they have a self-saving mechanism, because they are the makers and amenders of standing orders. As the standing order number 49 stands today, they cannot present a similar motion to Parliament. But being who they are, and they have the legislative and limited legislative powers, they can save their face by bringing an amendment to Standing Order number 49 to permit a premature presentation of a similar motion, either with the same names or with different names. And we wish them luck, because a serious activist can again go to court and stop them on their tracks, because they are bound by their standing orders, and if they acted recklessly, then they should bite the bullet.
I think that's a good place to stop it. Thank you so much, Steve Mogaka, for coming through. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, the day's business, and later on, we're going to look at the day's sports as well. Stay with us.
Miaka ya 80, mfumo wa 4K Club ulivuma sana katika shule za msingi na ukasaidia wanafunzi wengi kuwa na ujuzi na maarifa muhimu.
Zamani imeonekana kama kwamba agriculture ama mambo ya kilimo
ni kama mambo ambayo yanafanywa na watu ambao hawajasoma, lakini hiyo sio kweli.
Hata hivyo vilikosa ladha na vikafifia. Kwa sasa Rais Uhuru Kenyatta amevifufua na kutoa agizo kuwa viwe katika kila shule kote nchini. Tazama KBC Channel 1 Ijumaa hii saa 2:30 ujionee jinsi wanafunzi wa shule tofauti nchini wanavyotekeleza baadhi ya miradi ya 4K Club na ile ya Young Farmers Club.
Mbona unikabidhi mimi na bado wewe uhai?
Kama ningekuwa nimekufa, ningewezaje kukabidhi?
Baba, kwani wakati wako umefika?
Siwezi kuuza mzee, nimeileta tu kuweka rahani.
Si unajua mimi nina mke.
Pia mimi ni mke wako.
Mbona una roho chafu namna hiyo mtoto?
Wataka nikupe sabuni usafishe?
Nakuomba msamaha, niko chini ya miguu yako. Nisamehe mke wangu.
And Prime Edition continues. Low turnout has characterized the second phase of the enhanced continuous voter registration exercise that kicked off last week. Most registration clerks at centers in Nairobi were willing wait time alone. Ruth Mboya has that report.
This was the situation in most IBC voter registration centers across Nairobi County. The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, second phase of enhanced continuous voter registration that started last week, receiving cold.
We target the youth, and unfortunately it is the same youth who have migrated with our livestock to Tanzania, to Uganda and to Ethiopia in search of water and pasture again. Luckily enough, this time round, most of them are coming back because we have had some short rains. And I'm sure we will be able to lobby a number of them to register.
IBC registration officers calling on members of the public eligible to vote and have not registered to take advantage of the exercise.
In a day, we don't meet the daily targets, which is 56, and mostly we register 20 or less.
Na tujaribu kueleza wale watoto wetu, wasichana wetu, mayouth, tuwaelezee muhimu ya kuchukua kura, wasiseme tu na mdomo ati yeye napenda fulani, unampenda bure bila kumpigia kura.
Kuchukua kura kwa sababu ID imekuwa ikinisumbua tangu zamani. Sikuwa nikipata, nilikuwa nikienda kutafuta naambiwa miaka yangu bado ninarudishwa. Sasa last year ndo nilipata ID yangu.
In Busia County, IBC officials have changed tact and are now moving from door to door as they push against time to register at least 135,000 eligible voters in the county. In Kilifi County, IBC Kilifi County Representative Joseph Mofondo applauded the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties for the cordial working relationship to ensure data for political parties such as party lists and specimen signatures are correct and verified.
Partnership yetu ya IBC na County Commissioner imetusaidia sana kwa sababu sasa vitambulisho vinapatikana, vitambulisho vinapelekwa na machifu kwa mashinani.
The second voter registration exercise is expected to end Sunday, the 6th of February 2022. Ruth Wamboi for Prime Edition.
Let's now take you to Kiambu, where 3 people died on the spot while 10 others were seriously injured in a road accident. That road accident involved a 14-seater matatu and a lorry at Kimende area in Lari in Kiambu County. The accident claimed the lives of the matatu driver and 2 passengers who were seated next to the driver. Police are in hot pursuit of the lorry driver who fled unbelievably after the accident.
This is what has been left of the 14-seater matatu that was involved in a road accident at Kimende area of Lari sub-county in Kiambu early morning.
The mangled wreckage indicating the magnitude of the accident that left 3 people dead and 10 others nursing serious injuries at Kijabe Mission Hospital. The 3 who perished include the driver of the matatu and 2 passengers who were seated at the front. The head-on collision is said to have occurred when the driver of the lorry heading to Nairobi tried to overtake other vehicles, only to run into the 14-seater matatu that was headed to Naivasha.
Matatu walikuwa wanaelekea upande wa Nyahururu wakienda Mashishi, na driver hakuwa anafahamu sana kuhusiana na hii barabara. The driver of the lorry was trying to overtake, and unfortunately this other vehicle was too close. At the point, they had a head-on collision, and the driver and 2 passengers from the matatu died. 2 on the spot and 1 died at the hospital.
Larry Sub-County Police Boss Steve Kirui saying they had launched a manhunt for the lorry driver who fled after the accident. Motorists have been urged to be extra vigilant on the road.
So drivers, please be careful during this particular time, and especially during the morning, because you know very well that that road is foggy during the morning hours and sometimes in the evening.
Nancy Okware, Prime Edition.
To the corridors of justice, parties challenging the Mumias Sugar Company revival takeover bid by the Ugandan farm Sarai Group of companies have put up a spirited fight to have their award revoked. One of the parties, West Kenya Company, through its lawyer, Paul Muite, claims they were unfairly blocked after putting in the highest bid of 36 billion shillings. The contesting parties claim that the Sarai Company has already begun operations despite a court order blocking them from doing so.
I want to appeal to all of you to be very brief in your representations.
Before High Court Judge Winfrida Onkwani, Mwoko Farmers Cooperative and Gakwamba Farmers Cooperative Society sought the court to allow the farmers be enjoined in the proceedings so as to be assured of how they will get their 7 billion shillings owed to them by Mumia Sugar Company.
A whole matter that affects almost 90% of the Kenyan budget. It cannot wait. We need to resolve this matter to move forward.
That you have credible information that the machinery of that sugar plant are being placed in jeopardy and some of them are being removed.
6 billion shillings, 5 point.
West Kenya Sugar Company, through senior counsel Paul Muite, told the court that they want to come on record to the proceedings to question the rationale of the receiver manager and KCB Group to award the tender to Sarai Group of companies, which quoted the least amount in the tender process as opposed to the highest bidder by West Kenya Sugar Company.
West Kenya Sugar Company Limited was the highest bidder at 36 billion Kenya shillings compared to Sarai Group, which bid at under 6 billion shillings, 5.8, which if we are enjoined, we will be seeking to get an explanation on from the receiver manager and from Kenya Commercial Bank.
I am pleading with the County Government of Kakamega, through senior counsel James Orengo, also raised the same concern, saying they should be allowed to join the proceedings to give their views so as to give the court an opportunity to make a determined decision.
The issues about whether the highest bidders or not, we should be given an opportunity to make those responses. Because it would emerge they did not qualify.
They urged the court to give priority to the hearing and disposal of the suit so as to allow business at the Mumia Sugar Factory to resume.
Some of the pleadings you've mentioned are not yet with me. I have asked my court assistant to just upload them and avail them to me. So then I will take some time to consider your submissions and give you a way forward.
For Prime Edition, I'm Ben Troy-Njue.
From the corridors of justice, let's now look at the COVID situation in Kenya. On Tuesday, Kenya recorded 185 new cases of COVID-19 disease from a sample size of 5,515 tested over the last 24 hours. The coronavirus positivity rate stands at 3.4%, while the total number of infections since March 2020 stands at 320,584. 4 patients have succumbed to the disease, all of them being late deaths reported after conducting facility record audits in January. The cumulative fatalities stand at 5,562. Between Monday and Tuesday, 440 patients recovered, 331 from home-based isolation and care program, with 109 others from various facilities countrywide. Meanwhile, a total of 11.6 million vaccines have so far been administered across the country. Of this, 6 million are partially vaccinated, while those fully vaccinated are slightly over 5 million. Another 36,945 people aged between the ages of 15 and 18 years have received their jab, while 118,969 have received the booster doses. Globally, over 355 million cases of COVID-19 have been reported to the World Health Organization, while close to 5.6 million people have succumbed, sadly, to the disease. Now, 1 person and 40 livestock were killed at the bridge in Lodwar after a car rammed into them. Lodwar Police Commander Samuel Ndanye, while confirming the incident, called on drivers to be careful when driving on busy roads.
Witnesses said the driver could not control the car that was at high speed, killing the man and the livestock. The accident caused a huge traffic snarl-up for hours. Lodwar Police Commander Samuel Ndanyi regretted that in 1 week, 4 lives have been lost in road accidents in the town and called on the drivers to be more careful while driving in the busy town.
Waendeshaji magari na wito wangu ni kuwahimiza kuwa waweze kufuata sheria za barabara ambazo zimewekwa. Hii barabara ya kutoka highway kutoka Kitale kuja hadi Lodwar kwenda mpaka Kakuma mpaka Lokchogo mpaka Nada pale ni barabara ambayo ni barabara ya kisasa, barabara pana ambapo kwamba nitakana madereva wao waangalifu sana.
Elsewhere, it was relief for 400 families living in Lekiji village in Laikipia North Sub-County, who for years have been trekking up to 40 kilometers of bumpy Maram Road to Nanyuki town to access healthcare. The locals, who are formerly squatters of the 1,200-acre piece of land, received their first ever healthcare facility, which was unveiled by Laikipia Governor Nderito Muridhi.
Changamoto kubwa yetu ilikuwa ni kuvuka pale Mpala, na kuna wanyama pale ni kama shule na ni conservancy pia. Tuko na wanyama hapa, kuna ndovu, zimba, chui ambaye tukienda kutafuta huduma pale wengine hawafiki. Kwa hivyo ikakuwa changamoto, na ninafurahi kwa serikali ya county Laikipia County Government kwa kutujengea dispensary.
Hii hospitali itakuwa imetusaidia kwa sababu hata kwa tena tunaenda Impala, hatutaenda kungangana kutafuta David. Kwa hivyo tunashukuru sana serikali ya Nderito Muridhi kwa sababu saa hii hospitali iko mahali ya kufungulia wamama, kila kitu imeletwa, madawa imeletwa.
Meanwhile, property of a known value was destroyed by fire at Quisero Secondary School in Kakamega. The school principal says the cause of the early morning fire is yet to be established, noting that all students were in their classes for morning preps.
Kwa vile sehemu hii ufungwa wanafunzi wakishatoka, nina uhakika hata ingawa watafanya utafiti, lakini kutokana na ile experience yangu kidogo tangu niwe mwanafunzi mpaka sasa, hiyo lazima ni hitilafu ya stima. Japo tunawaachia wa kuchunguza wafanye nini? Wachunguze. Ingalikuwa ni mwanafunzi, sijui angeingilia wapi na angetokea wapi, kwa sababu just behind this, on the other side, beside this dormitory is our boys' dormitory. So they will have been in a view to see anything happening because they were awake at that particular time.
And a man was allegedly shot dead by police and another left nursing a bullet wound after students of Ramula Secondary School stormed a local police post to protest the death of their teacher. Regan Dindi is said to have died on the spot after he was hit by a bullet as police tried dispersing a rowdy crowd. The death of Dindi sparked protests, bringing business along the Luanda-Akala road to a standstill as the locals demanded justice.
Huwa alikuwa ametoka nyumbani anaenda kazi, alikuwa juu ya pikipiki. Ni mtu alikuwa anaendeshwa. Na ndio nasikia polisi wanafunzi walikuwa wanaandamana. By that time ndio nasikia polisi alipigwa maana yeye alikuwa anapita hakuwa na chochote, alikuwa anaenda kazi side za Luanda.
Beatrice Gatonyengetich, Prime Edition.
And tonight in our weekly news feature segment, County Fact File, we cross over to the central Kenya and take a closer look at one of the counties in the former central province, Nyeri code 019. Take a look.
Nyeri County, code 019, is located in the former central province of Kenya. It borders Kirinyaga County to the east, Nyandarua to the west, Murang'a to the south, and Laikipia to the north. The county headquarters are in Nyeri town. Nyeri County has a population of 759,164 according to the 2019 Kenya Population and Housing Census. Nyeri has 10 sub-counties: Tetu, Kieni East, Kieni West, Madeira East, Madeira West, Nyeri South, Mukurweini, Nyeri Central, Mount Kenya Forest, Aberdare Forest, covering the county's 3,325 square kilometers. Part of Mount Kenya and Aberdare are in Nyeri County. The county has 6 constituencies with close to 500,000 registered voters as per the 2017 IEBC register. They include Tetu, Kieni, Madeira, Othaya, Mukurweini and Nyeri town, with a total of 456,949. The county has 30 electoral wards. Agriculture is the main economic activity, with cash crops being tea, coffee. Other agricultural produce at subsistence level include maize, potatoes and cabbages, among others. The governors who have served Nyeri County include the late Nderito Gachagua, Samuel Githaiga Wamathai, the late Wahome Gakuru and Mutahi Kahiga. Kenya's dead President Mwai Kibaki and the late Nobel Peace Prize winner Professor Wangari Maathai hail from Nyeri County.
I'm trying to teach the boy. He said he was going to catch one for you. After 2 minutes had gone by, he gave up. This is a lesson for him. A man follows through on his word. He shouldn't just give up.
Wow, Joey. You think people will look into your past? I was once your girlfriend. Maybe I'll get discovered.
She and I will get married. I hope you can help me get Manny to accept it.
What if I can't accept it?
有一段故事建筑一座城堡，回放进去后就不再。
now look at today's business news. My name is Carol Jenga. Now, Kenya is banking on innovation to realize sustainability in trade expansion and industrialization that are expected to anchor recovery from COVID disruptions. According to Industrialization and Trade Cabinet Secretary Betty Maina, this strategy aims at building and supporting the capacity of local enterprises to meet Kenya's demand so as to minimize the impact of global supply chain disruption.
According to the 24th edition of the Kenya Economic Update by the World Bank, from recovery to better jobs, growth has been supported by rebounds in industry and especially services, with overall economic performance expected to rebound to about 4.9% this year and next year. Kenya is focusing on self-sufficiency and exports-led economy recovery, as well as attracting investments, especially in the digital and services sector, to help accelerating adoption of technology.
The rollout of ICT, the integration into more global value chains, and e-government is going to help us a lot more in recovering and ensuring that this recovery is leads to shared growth.
Local enterprises, including MSMEs, are reinventing themselves to fill the gap left by the disruption of global supply chains that starved manufacturers of key raw materials and supplies and negatively affected output.
COVID-19 exposed massive inadequacies and weaknesses in existing national and regional and global responses to such pandemics. It therefore means that all of us must work, including your international organizations and all our different countries. We all must work collectively to develop lasting responses to the current and future pandemics and to ensure minimal economic disruptions in the event of future pandemics.
Further, Industrialization and Trade Cabinet Secretary Betty Maina says their efforts to use technological innovations to address other challenges the country has been grappling with, such as drought, flooding and pest invasion. She says there's need to address the socio-economic gap that feeds the digital divide. She made the remarks during the WTO panel discussion on the role of trade in developing countries' road to recovery that was held virtually. Regina Manyar reporting for Prime Edition.
The Kenya Agriculture and Livestock Research Organization has introduced an improved breed of cattle that has been developed to withstand harsh weather patterns. Carol Director General Dr. Eliud Kidga says the improved crossbreed between the indigenous Sahiwal and the exotic Frisian was resistant to most pests and diseases and had the potential to yield 30 liters of milk per day.
The erratic weather patterns have affected fodder production, which has affected production of livestock products such as milk. As part of its efforts to increase milk production, Kenya Agriculture and Livestock Research Organization Director General Dr. Eliud Kidga says the improved dairy cow breeds, which are a crossbreed between the indigenous Sahiwal and the exotic Frisian, fit within the nomadic pastoral system of production that is dominant in the regions.
Train farmers on the use of AI, artificial insemination, so that the material can be able to go across all the farming communities.
Dr. Kidga said climate change has affected the feed and fodder situation in arid and semi-arid regions where during droughts, livestock is lost.
A lot of the livestock the dairy livestock that are kept in the high potential areas are the imported European breeds like the Holstein Friesians, the Ayrshire, the Jersey, the Guernsey. But in the arid and semi-arid areas, those kind of animals don't do very well.
He is encouraging pastoralists to keep fewer animals, but with higher milk or meat production potential.
Most of our farmers are yet to embrace the issue of intensive dairy farming.
They were speaking during a training of trainers workshop for extension officers from the counties of Kwale, Kilifi, Narok, Samburu and Nyamira. Reporting for Prime Edition, my name is Ibak Said.
The World Bank projects Kenya's economy to grow 4.7% this year, driven by higher export prices of food commodities like coffee. In its latest global economic prospects of January 2022, the World Bank maintains its earlier projection in June last year, despite revising Kenya's 2023 GDP projection, which the lender has slashed to 5.1% from earlier forecast of 5.8%.
The latest Global Economic Prospects of January 2022 report by the World Bank indicates that Kenya's economy has demonstrated resilience to the COVID-19 shock, with output in the first half of the year set to rise above pre-pandemic levels. Higher prices of food commodities are expected to anchor Kenya's economic expansion. Tea, coffee, cut flowers and vegetables are among the top export commodities for Kenya. Currently, Kenya is the world's leading exporter of black tea and cut flowers. Despite this, the World Bank warns that poverty, food insecurity, rising food prices, and geopolitical tensions could dampen consumer sentiment and slow the growth. In addition, the report by the World Bank indicates that other uncertainties, such as a drought and lower than average rainfall, could affect the projected economic growth rate. The coronavirus pandemic, as well as uptake of COVID-19 vaccination, could disrupt growth, derail structural and fiscal reforms, as well as amplify health challenges. The World Bank's projection has been backed by Saiton Investments that also projects the economy to expand 4.7% this year, supported by economic and business recovery from COVID-19 misfortunes. The latest review by Saiton Investments projects that support by the continued reopening of the external trading partners will boost estimated growth for 2021, given the erratic weather affecting agricultural produce and the August 2022 general elections, which economists say risk destabilizing the macroeconomic environment.
Now that is how we wrap up business news for tonight. Richard Munga is up next with the sports update. Have a good night.
I'm Richard Munga. Thank you for joining us for the Daily Sports Update. Now, the inaugural Kenya Volleyball Federation Strength and Conditioning course entered day 2 Tuesday at Absa Sports Club in Nairobi. 28 coaches are taking part in the 6-day course, which is being facilitated by Geoffrey Onyango, Teresia Mudegani, Kevin Owor and Richard Sylvain.
Coaches drawn from Kenya Volleyball League clubs, self-supporting clubs and secondary schools have converted the Absa Sports Club Hall in Nairobi to take part in the inaugural KVF Strength and Conditioning course. Richard Sylvain, one of the facilitators, says the course will go a long way in helping Kenyan coaches understand the importance of strength and conditioning in the sport.
At the end of this course, one of our hope is that we have put the foundation for a uniform program nationwide. Uniform program that will make sure that all the clubs have at least the basic knowledge or some even advanced knowledge of what it requires to do the strength and conditioning program that is tailored for the sport.
His sentiments were echoed by veteran volleyball tactician Sami Mulinge.
First thing, I must say that it will go a long way in making our coaches here in Kenya getting the right information on how we are supposed to handle our players, and especially when we are dealing with the young players whom we are doing the development programs.
Because itanisaidia kwa kujua fitness ya players wangu na nitajua player mgani ako na shida fulani mahali fulani.
Some of the Kenyan coaches taking part in the course include Catherine Mabui, Geoffrey Omondi, Samson Sunguti, Dan Tali, and former Kenyan international James Ontere, among others.
It's called catching up, and it's better we catch up with the rest of the world now rather than later. These are things, these are innovations in the volleyball world, not just in the volleyball world, in the sports world. But we also must thank the National Olympic Committee of Kenya, who are actually the main sponsors for this course, because they opened our eyes the moment they introduced the strength and conditioning aspect into the preparation of the team that has just come back from Tokyo.
The 6-day strength and conditioning course will end on Sunday.
Meanwhile, Kenya's Angela Okutoi continued her fine form at the ongoing Australian Open Juniors Tournament after beating Australia's Zara Lark 6-5, 5-7, 6-1 to qualify for the third round in Melbourne. Okutoi defeated Italian Federica Ugesi 6-4, 6-7, 5-6-3 on Sunday in the first round to become the first girl from Kenya to win a Grand Slam Juniors match. Okutoi is the second Kenyan girl to play a junior Grand Slam after Susan Okongo, who featured at Wimbledon in 1978. The country's highest-ranked junior will now face Lola Ladivojevic of Serbia in the third round. Also, Asia Kida has been included in the Harambee Starlets provisional squad that will take on Crested Cranes of Uganda in the 2022 Africa Women Cup of Nations qualifiers. The Greece-based attacker, who turns out for PUK, has been left in the cold for some time, but now she will have a chance to show the quality the fans have been missing. Goalkeeper Lilian Award, who recently joined Soyoks of France, and Samantha Akinyi, who plays for Tanzanian outfit Tigers FC, have also made the squad that is scheduled to play Uganda in the final round of the qualifiers. Other notable names in the squad include defenders Inez Mango, Janet Bundi, midfielder Corazon Aquino, Cynthia Shilwatso, and USA-based Madeline Nekesa. The attacking department is made up of Gentrix Shikangwa, Mona Halima Adam, among others. Internationally, Rafael Nadal overcame physical issues to beat Canada's Denis Shapovalov and reach the Australian Open semi-finals. The 20-time Grand Slam champion will now take on Matteo Berrettini for a final slot after the Italian saw Frenchman Gael Monfils in another quarter-final match. Meanwhile, world number one Ashley Barty's chances of qualifying for the finals on home soil received a major boost after she thrashed Jessica Pegula to set up a semi-final against Madison Keys.
Spanish 6th seed Nadal won 6-3, 6-4, 4-6, 3-6 and 6-3, despite struggling physically in the fourth set.
At the beginning of the match I was playing great, then I know how difficult it is to play against a player like Denis. No? He's very talented, very aggressive, he was serving huge, and especially the second serve. So, I think I had my chances at the beginning of the third with love 30, then 115-30 passing shot down the line. I didn't get it, and then I started to feel a little bit more tired, and then he pushed me now. So, yeah, for me it's amazing, honestly, to be in that semifinals.
The 35-year-old Nadal is 2 more victories away from earning the 21st Grand Slam men's title, which would move him clear of long-time rivals Novak Djokovic and Roger Federer.
No, I think I felt quite good physically in terms of movements, but it's true that the conditions here haven't been that hard for the last week and a half now. So, well, at least it was a great test, I hope, and I really believe that I'm going to be ready for that semi-finals.
Meanwhile, Ashley Barty underlined why she's the Australian Open favourite as she thrashed Jessica Pegula to set up semi-final against Madison Keys. World number one and home favourite Barty won the final 9 games to beat American Pegula 6-2 and 6-0.
I was able to serve and find a lot of forehands in the centre of the court, and I was happy to take the game on, be aggressive off my forehand, not worry if I miss a couple, as long as I'm doing the right things, and I felt like I was able to do that throughout the whole match.
Barty bidding to become the first Australian singles champions in the tournament since 1978 has yet to drop a set at Melbourne Park. Daniel Mwendwa for Prime Edition Sports.
And Cameroon qualified for the quarterfinals of the Africa Cup of Nations after a 2-1 win over Comoros. Meanwhile, Gambia booked their place as Musa Barrow's goal gave them a famous 1-0 victory over Guinea.